welcome to your favorite bad movie podcast. It's the only podcast that's brave enough to ask the question, if this movie's so bad, why do you like it so much? We're your hosts. My name is Chris Anderson, and with me, as always, I have the Karen to my Angie, Mr. Greg Bossy. Greg, how are you?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
Oh, I can't complain. Except for the fact that my wife, Anna, could not be with us this week. That always hurts my heart when that's the case. But we do have a perfect salve riding in from far off, the Joel Winter of the show. You might know him as a pirate puppet. You might know him as a science jerk. It's Mr. Pete Speer. Pete, how are you?
I'm doing well. Hi, everybody.
Now, Pete, you chose this week's movie, and if our audience hasn't seen it, and I'm going to very strongly guess that they have not.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they haven't this time around.
But if you have not seen this week's movie, Addicted to Murder 2, Tainted Blood, here's just a brief summary of the film to hold in your mind. Everyone is looking for a mysterious vampire named Rachel. From her serial killer ex-boyfriend Joel to her vampire sister Angie. And this is to either be made into a vampire or stop her from making more vampires. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I feel that seems, yeah.
It's accurate.
I think that's fair. Now, Pete, how did you first see Addicted to Murder? Yeah, I know you told me that you're a fan of the whole franchise. How did you come across the Addicted to Murder franchise?
Well, I oddly enough came across the first Addicted to Murder in the horror section of my local Blockbuster as a teenager. They had the box.
Really?
Wow.
The box looks like a real movie. And
okay, that helps.
It has all the trappings of a, mid-budget horror movie about vampires and serial killers, and the write-up made it seem pretty exciting, and I rented it, and I'd never seen a shot-on-video horror movie before, and this one has all the trappings. It's set in the woods mostly. That's like Hallmark #1. And
yeah, that's a classic because video loves light.
Yeah. Oh, yes. You need it.
And I was kind of intrigued, to say the least, and I wouldn't say it started an interest in shot and video horror, but it was definitely an entry point into that world. And then I will admit I kind of forgot about it, and I didn't know there were other entries in the series until about 2015. A director named Scooter McCrae, who has a cameo in part 2, Tainted Blood.
Oh, okay.
He put out a short called Saint Frankenstein that I liked. I thought it was pretty good.
Great title.
And so I started digging through his IMDb page and finding all these other movies that he had been in that I was unfamiliar with. And then in that list was part 2, Addicted to Murder 2, Tainted Blood. So I found that, watched it, was, intrigued, to say the least.
Yeah.
And then,
that's fair.
In short order, watched part 3 as well. And over time, just sort of conflated parts 2 and 3 in my mind into one wild ride.
These films, I watched the first 2, and I will say I had a very tough time remembering which came from which when I was trying to write my summary today.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, they play fast and loose with a lot of things, including time and plot lines and characters, but there are familiar faces and names. It just sort of feels like coming in and out of dreams that have reference points that track, but any kind of through line is a bit foggy.
Yeah, you really need to follow this in terms of vibes. This is not a plot movie. This is a vibes movie.
No, I couldn't really even tell you what the plot was, other than what you said, but at the same time, yeah.
Well, Greg, had you seen this one before?
No, I didn't know anything about this at all. I will say some of the people in it I thought looked familiar, and then when I went to look, I was like, no, they are not
No,
familiar to me at
no.
all. This was a real, and I will say that like after the first few lines, I realized like I was like, those are two funny first lines, and then I realized they were actually from this movie and then the prior movie, and then I was like, maybe I need to read what the prior movie was, and so I did, and then that made sense, and then I got like 20 minutes in, and I was like, wait a minute, maybe I need to read what the synopsis for this movie is. And that's when I learned about its placement in the timeline of the story. And then I was like, okay, now things make more sense in that they don't make any sense. But now I
Yeah.
can make sense of that at least.
Yeah, I had not seen these before either. I did watch part 1 for my research, but I watched it after I watched part 2.
Okay.
And I did not in retrospect, I wish I had at least tracked down a trailer or something. I think I'm going to make that my part of my process going forward. I think that's going to help me out a lot because I've been discombobulated a lot lately, and it's frankly, this didn't help with that issue. This was a very confusing watch for me. But that said, I did enjoy it. I walked away feeling like, okay, there's enough meat on the bone here that I didn't regret the 81 minutes that I spent
Yeah.
watching it.
Should we state what it is that's so strange about this plot and its placement within the story at this
It's
point?
sort of both a prequel and a sequel. It seems to take place in the time surrounding part 1.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's just at the very end that it leaps to after part 1.
Well, there's parts throughout part 2 that dip back to within part 1.
Yeah.
The timeline.
So it's like a
jumping-
Saw 3 and 4 situation where they happen simultaneously.
I'm unfamiliar with the Saw films beyond their names, but I will.
I
take your
watched
word.
them all in one day, 1 through 7. That was all that was available at the time. It was a bad idea. I don't recommend it.
No, I can't imagine doing that in my life.
No, it was a bad day.
But yeah, watching
but I
this,
was committed.
Watching this sort of felt like trying to watch all the Star Wars movies by starting with the second episode. Yeah, it's like some stuff happened before, and there's other things that I should know about, but like I don't know what.
Or like if I ever sat down and watched that re-edited version of Lost that was in chronological order.
Oh yeah.
It would. I feel like it would end up having that same sort of vibe where it's like, except this was in a chronological order,
right?
But which was very, very 90s, if we're being fair. That was a very 90s thing to do.
Yeah.
Very Tarantino.
Yeah, very limey. If I remember that one.
Oh yeah, that's a great movie.
It is a great movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, in general, I felt very untethered while I was watching it.
It keeps you on your toes.
It sure does. It does.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, do you guys want to hear what I found out in terms of context?
Sure.
I can't wait.
It's not a lot, I'm going to be honest. All right. Addicted to Murder, Tainted Blood, a.k.a. Addicted to Murder 2, Tainted Blood, came out in 1998. Not sure the exact date, but we do know writer-director Kevin J. Lindenmuth with the tagline, "You are who you eat."
Nice.
It does sort of tie into like one specific thing that happens in the film where she like one of the vampires is like, "I'm going to steal your confidence from you when you drink your blood." They didn't really talk too much about that. And Greg, I want to get your opinions on some more vampiric stuff, because I know you're a big vampire head.
Yeah.
Don't let that slip by me.
Yeah.
But anyway, I could not find out a lot of information about the making of this film or about Kevin J. Lindenmuth. My best resources were Lindenmuth's IMDb biography, which he wrote himself, and an interview he gave on buried.com, which was a website he also contributed to, but this conflict of interest was not disclosed. Kevin J. Lindenmuth was born in 1965 in Dearborn, Michigan. Greg, you're on the mitten. Do you know much about Dearborn?
I mean, it's by Detroit, so I mean, everybody kind of knows about it. It's like you hear Dearborn all the time.
What's the vibe on Dearborn?
So it's this roughly the same as Detroit, I would say, though slightly removed as it's a suburb of Detroit. But I would say that outside of the context of Michigan, most people aren't going to think of it as Detroit. Dearborn is probably just going to think of it as Detroit, if that makes sense.
Okay. Now, in his youth, he would make short Super 8 films with the kids in the neighborhood. Classic stuff from our directors. He also did some stop motion animation before he started working in live action in high school. He attended the University of Michigan and graduated with a degree in film and video studies, and he moved to New York shortly after. Just like our old Greg.
That's right.
Now, he began directing his first film, Vampires and Other Stereotypes, in 1990.
It's a great title.
And it was released in 1994. He also contributed a segment to the anthology movie Twisted Tales in 1994 before tackling the first Addicted to Murder.
Okay.
So Addicted to Murder was his third film project. Pete, have you seen either of those other ones? You seen Vampires and Other Stereotypes?
No, but I do agree that is a fantastic title. But it has so far escaped me. I'll see it eventually.
Right. I'll see what I can dig up. I'll put out my feelers.
Appreciate it.
So then from there, he switched from vampires to aliens. He's mixing it up. And he directed Alien Agenda Out of the Darkness, Alien Agenda Under the Skin, and Alien Agenda Endangered Species. And I gotta admit, I'm curious.
Yeah.
Now, those were all anthology films. He was able to finally return to features next with Addicted to Murder, Tainted Blood. Now, in the interview that I read, Lindenmuth said that it would take him about 6 months to make a movie, but he would only spend 2 weeks on principal photography. Principal photography tends to be the most expensive part of filmmaking, so using that pre-production time to get things tightened up and keep the shooting time down would have been a great way to keep things on budget. He also appeared to shoot entirely on video, possibly VHS, if I had to guess, but it could have been Betacam or, who knows. There were a bunch of weird formats in the late 90s before digital video cropped up.
Yeah.
But that is obviously an order of magnitude cheaper than shooting on film. And I'm sure a lot of our younger listeners who might have been born, say, after this movie was made, might not have ever even seen a shot on video horror movie. Because this was definitely towards the end of the shot on VHS era.
Yeah.
The late 90s. This was the last time you could be doing this. Let's see. So from there, Lindenmuth went on to direct one more Addicted to Murder 3 Bloodlust. Pete, you said you saw that one. You're a big fan.
That was fantastic. Yeah.
Then he did some more alien movies, a couple of werewolf movies, before pivoting to PBS documentaries in the mid-aughts with titles like But You Still Look So Well, Living with Multiple Sclerosis, and
Wow.
I'm Not Nuts, Living with Food Allergies.
Okay. That's a good title for that one.
Yeah, you gotta give it up to that one. He also wrote a couple of books, specifically Making Movies on Your Own, Practical Talk from Independent Filmmakers, which came out the same year as Tainted Blood. He also wrote The Documentary Movie Making Course, The Starter Guide to Documentary Filmmaking in 2010, and How to Make Movies, Low Budget / No Budget Indie Experts Tell All in 2013. Nice.
Nice.
And then he wrote in 2016 the novel The Dead Don't Die. That's another great title. I'll give him up for that one.
He's really good with titles.
He's got some punchy ones. Now, it's been hard to tell what he's been doing since then, but he's definitely not still making 2 movies a year. However, Vampires and Other Stereotypes was released on Blu-ray in 2023.
Ooh.
So hopefully we'll get to see more Lindenmuths on the horizon. Get their day in the sun. Now, just to put a thing in its place, what were the other vampire movies of 1998?
Yeah, let's get into that.
Obviously, you've got Blade.
Okay.
Yep.
You got John Carpenter's Vampires.
That's a ridiculous film.
Did you know that the book that it's based on, the S was a $sign?
No.
Yeah.
That's so good. It makes a lot of
I
sense.
don't know why they didn't keep that. That is so good.
That's very, yeah.
That could have saved that film.
It would have been cool if it was one of those S's that you learned to draw as a kid, with like the lines.
Yes.
And
Oh,
The cool
yeah.
S.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the cool S.
So you got Modern Vampires with Casper Van Dien in it. Never saw
that's
it.
one I've never heard of, actually.
It's on the Plex if you want to watch it.
Probably.
I mean, I know you like vampires. So you got Subspecies 4, Bloodstorm.
Mm.
You guys seen any of the
idea.
blood
Yep.
species? It's one that's on my list, but I've never dived into it.
Don't know anything about it.
Yeah, that's a whole other world too.
It's a whole, like, at least 4 entries into a vampire mini franchise that came out in the 90s.
There's a Meatloaf video where he plays a vampire. I'd do anything for love. And
Yes.
his character design is very similar to the main character of the Bloodstone series. So keep that in mind if you make that trip.
All right, you got something called Sucker the Vampire. I wrote that title down, but I did not retain any information about it.
Yeah.
And The Wisdom of Crocodiles.
Oh, I don't know what that is, but I am curious.
That's a great title for a vampire movie.
It is.
Well, with that, do you guys want to talk about the plot of Addicted to Murder, Tainted Blood?
Oh, yeah.
All right, let's do it.
Blood Bumper, listen to me. I'm gonna give you the plot summary. Come on, baby, here's the synopsis. Blood Bumper, Blood Bumper.
I spilled water on my notebook, and now my notes are running. Boy,
That's
what a night.
perfect. That's perfect.
So we open on a shot of a man named Joel, and he's wandering through the woods of Arbor Hills, Michigan. He's kind of doughy with a mustache and a mullet.
Yeah.
And we get a flashback of him breaking up with his girlfriend, Rachel, who is a vampire. There's a lot of flashbacks in this movie. How did you guys feel about all that structural technique?
For myself, it was slightly confusing because having not seen the previous one, it was sometimes difficult to tell that they were flashing back. But I did eventually kind of figure it out. And then once I figured that out, that helped to unlock some of the plot for me a little bit. Be like, oh, this is a flashback. Okay.
That makes sense. For me, it was interesting to watch Addicted to Murder after this, because that one was like a serial killer movie with vampires in it, whereas this is a vampire movie with a serial killer in it.
Yeah.
And I admire that choice for the director. I think that's very interesting. Salute to you, Kevin J. Lindenmuth. How'd you feel about those flashbacks, Pete?
I really liked them. It seemed like a way to do a lot of heavy lifting without a ton of investment. And the flashbacks, for the most part, except for one notable flashback, are all within a decade of each other, if that.
Yeah.
And so there can be subtle variations in hairstyle or whether or not someone has a mustache, and you can tell time has passed.
Mhm.
But for the most part, I thought it was fun. It was a good way to propel the story in radical directions at a moment's notice.
Yeah. It did at least keep it from getting too monotonous. You'd be like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Because it would be very easy for this to kind of fall into like a dull roar over your senses. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You got to keep shaking it up because the big problem for me watching this movie was the audio quality.
No.
It's so hard to pay attention to a movie with low audio quality. It's so easy just to tune it out. And so
Yeah.
the fact that it kept on being so dynamic and kept its scenes pretty short did help it feel sort of breezy and less of a struggle to keep up with.
It definitely moves in a way that feels nice.
Yeah. You're never bored. You're just often confused.
No. Yeah.
So Joel is ready to move on. So he picks up his bed sheet full of possessions and decides to move out of Michigan. We then cut to a New York City apartment where a vampire, I don't remember if we see who, attacks a guy before our credits roll. This is all a cold open. I love a cold open.
Someone's like, "What the hell are you doing in my apartment?" And then it just bares their fangs. It's just like, yeah, perfect. This is perfect, ideal. This is perfect.
What I like is that's a scene that you could have put at literally any point in the movie and it would have worked just as effectively. That is just pure filler. Because it's not like it's communicating to the audience like, oh, and vampires are real. Like, I kind of assumed.
We got it.
I saw the cover of the tape and it had a lady with fangs with blood coming out of her mouth. Now, Joel heads over to his job at a mechanic's shop to get his last paycheck before hitting the road in his beautiful red Ford Bronco. He picks up a hitchhiker at a diner who kind of reminded me of Dana Scully if she was a beautician.
Sure.
And they chit-chat for a little while. And Joel explains that since his mom died, he hasn't been sure what to do with himself. He also just seems to have very weird vibes. He seems like a strange guy. At one point, he thinks he sees Rachel in the woods by the side of the road, and he pulls over to take a look. And when the hitchhiker asks what's going on, he kills her.
Yeah.
That's what Anna told me. I was in the bathroom when that happened.
So the way that it plays out is actually like really good because when they're making chit chat in the car, she's like, got a necklace or something. I think he asked about it. She's like, oh, it's for luck. And then they do all the stuff. He sees her in the woods and she's like, can we get going? And he's like, yeah. And then the next shot is him standing outside a dumpster holding up the necklace. And he just goes, looks like the luck ran out. And it was just like, I like the throwback to the prior joke with the jump like that. I knew immediately what happened. You didn't have to film anything or show any blood, but it was still kind of smartly done. It was a very nice moment.
Yeah, nice little setup and payoff.
Yeah.
Now, we then cut to a man knocking on the front door of a very normal-looking house. A woman named Karen answers the door. And the man insists, it's time for you to change me, before muscling his way in.
Yeah.
It turns out that Karen's a vampire, you guys.
So
this guy wants her to change him in the vampire sense, in the vampire sense.
Mm-hmm.
Karen kills him instead, and then discusses with her roommate who just brought home a baby in a shopping bag for dinner, which was a great gag.
No, it's great.
Because you just hear a baby crying in the background.
Yeah.
And you're like, what's going on? And then you eventually notice that the roommate is carrying a plastic sack, and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
It was that was good. Yeah.
That roommate is that's Scooter McRae from
okay.
Director of Shattered Dead and other films. Yeah. Yeah, he's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, Shattered Dead is an intense movie, dude.
Not my fave, but it's a vibe.
Yeah, it's not one that it was a little bit too intense for me. It's not one that I think I
Same.
need to watch twice. But if you're looking for a zombie movie that's a bad time, check out Shatterdead.
Plays by its
Interesting.
own rules. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, not for the faint of heart. I'll put that one on the Plex.
Okay, all right.
Scooter McRae, I'm sorry to steal from you that way. Now, let's see. So Karen is kind of upset that people have been showing up at the house a lot lately, asking to
It's
become
intrusive.
vampires.
It's intrusive, is what it is.
Yeah, it's like if, these bums showing up every day, begging for my precious blood.
Mm-hmm.
Get out of here. So she calls up her vampire friend Angie, who's like a high-ranking vampire, and if we're gonna be honest, I would say a total babe.
She's beautiful vampire.
I think Angie really stuck out in this movie. I think. How did you guys feel about Angie?
Yeah, she stands out. I will say that like you've also been like looking at Joel for a
It's
long
true.
portion of the beginning, and he is not a remarkable person looks wise in any sense. Like he just seems like someone you would see in a store and
Yeah.
think, I better not walk into that person. You know what I mean? Like he just registers as just very standard, very normal. And so she just kind of sticks out a little bit. She's striking. And
Yeah.
she's doing a good job with the acting, which helps.
Yeah, I think she was probably one of the better actors in the movie. I found her to be like very sort of flirtatiously charming in this in the role of Angie. I think she did a great job.
She's got some good depth, a lot of nuance and everything. It's nice. Real good. Good stuff.
Now, they agree that this is all happening because Angie's sister Rachel is out there making vampires halfway and just having bad OPSEC on all this vampire situation. So Angie sends her lackey, who I think is a vampire named the Hunter, to track Rachel down and put a stop to all this.
Is this
Who's the bald guy with the goatee?
Yeah, okay. So that's not the guy that I was thinking of when I thought of the guy with the goatee. I was thinking of the man with like the ponytail and the goatee we see later.
No, that's Jonathan.
I referred to him in my notes as goatee.
Okay. So yeah, this guy I referred to initially as Baldy, and then I switched it over to the Hunter once I got to credits. Now, we cut to two gals walking down a New York City street. You got Trisha, and she's complaining to her friend Jackie about how she's having a hard time meeting men. And she's it's tough being a single lady in New York City. Next thing we know, we're in Trisha's apartment, and Angie is there. And Angie bites Trish, but does not kill her, which begins Trisha's transformation into a vampire.
Yep.
Seems kind of hypocritical of old Angie to be coming down on Rachel for making vampires when she's making a vampire. But nobody's perfect, I guess.
Yeah.
Do as I say, not as I do. When Trish revives from her attack, she pops on some Band-Aids on her neck, which is also my go-to Halloween costume when I have to go to work that day.
That's really good.
And then she sits down with some work to do in her home office. But she gets a phone call from a prospective suitor answering a personal ad that she had placed.
Yep.
They set it up, and the guy shows up, and he pretends to be blind to make a joke about blind dates.
Yep.
And we're left with the impression that the date kind of goes downhill from there.
Yep.
I think that's very effective storytelling.
Yeah. I would say that this movie is made actually pretty smartly.
Yeah. Just not coherently.
No.
It's some very efficient decisions along the way.
No, you certainly. Yeah. But there's a lot more, like the joke with the necklace, where I was like, that's a little more clever than I would have expected when I saw the video quality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's filled with lots of great little isolated moments that never cohese into something like anyway. Is cohese a word?
I understood what you were going. Coheres?
Yeah. It never comes together. Now, speaking of romance, Joel has a dream that he has sex with Rachel, but it's only a dream. Then Trish gets a personal ad date with another guy, and it's going decently well until she brings him home and feels compelled to bite him on the neck.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I wonder what's going on there.
Yeah.
This makes him freak out and run away. She does draw blood. It's not like a gentle nibble or anything.
No.
Now, luckily, Angie has been keeping an eye on our fledgling vampire-to-be and cleans up this whole mess by following the date home, pretending to be his new upstairs neighbor in need of a can opener, and then killing him. What's funny is in the first movie, Joel gets a visit from his upstairs neighbor who's having trouble with the lights. Upstairs neighbors are a running theme with Kevin J. Lindenbooth.
Yeah. Well, they're convenient.
It's true. It's a great excuse to have two strangers meet inside an apartment building.
Yeah.
Now, Angie goes back to Trish's place, where you can tell she's really fiending for some blood at this point. Specifically, she needs Angie's blood, and Angie gives it to her. But she doesn't believe that she's ready to go out on the hunt yet. Understandable.
Yeah.
We then get a flashback to 6 months earlier where Trish learns from her doctor that she has incurable cancer before heading to the library to read about vampires. That's right.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
We got a library scene, folks.
That's right.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
Also, definitely those books that she slaps down on the table are not library books. Like, there's no way that those books were in that library.
No, I think the paperback edition of V is for Vampires, probably not.
Yeah. I was just slapping it down on this ornate oak table, and it's just like, you brought those books in with you. There's no way. There's no way those are on the shelves.
Now, back in the present. Oh, and I guess by reading about vampires in the library, that's how she found out about vampires. But I don't think that's how Angie found her. Just
the general idea that it's like, you've got cancer. It's like, well, better go to the library and figure out how to become a vampire then. It's a great plan. It's a great plan.
She probably started off with how to become immortal and then was like, well, vampires.
Okay, that'd be fun.
Whittle it down. Yeah, I could do that. Vampires are real.
I mean, it does it does work out.
No,
yeah.
I can't. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
You know?
She's laughing all the way to the bank. The blood bank.
That's
Yep. There it is. There it is.
Right.
Now, back in the present, Trish goes to hang out with Jackie some more. Now, Jackie says that Trish is looking much better. And Trish hints around the fact that it's become a vampire. She's like, well, I've been hanging out with some new friends at night, drinking something.
Her attitude during this was really lovely.
Yeah, she's really feeling her oats in this scene, Trish.
Yep.
Now, she almost bites Jackie, but she regains her composure and leaves. Meanwhile, Joel continues to drive to New York City. Now, we then cut to a new vampire. This is Jonathan. Jonathan's the guy with the long hair and the goatee.
This is the one that I referred to as goatee. Also, at this point, I just want to say, did you have any questions about vampires that you haven't addressed at this point?
Well, we've seen so far. Let's take a little vampire break.
Sure.
That's a great idea. And one thing that happens is that they do cut to talking heads, and one of them is a vampire expert. This is something they also carried over from Addicted to Murder.
Okay, I was curious about that, yeah.
Do they do that in 3 as well?
Yeah, that's kind of where I think my point of confusion existed, because in part 3, it's not just a talking head, it's a straight up TV show, like a public access show where they have vampires on as guests, and they talk about the realities and the day-to-day of being a vampire.
That's incredible.
Yeah, no, it's quite
good.
Yeah. And so with these talking heads and these very memorable characters in them, I kind of just naturally merged the two films in my mind. So this conceptually carries over to part 3 in a wonderful way for about half the movie, and then it changes course.
Well, yeah. Why would you keep a good thing going? But yeah, so one of these talking heads mentioned that, like, oh, in this, vampires can go out during the day. They're just not
Yeah.
as strong.
Yeah.
And we also saw at one point somebody holds up a cross and the vampire's not afraid of the cross.
Yeah.
And they drink blood.
Mm-hmm.
And that seems to be all we know about vampires here.
Yeah.
So how did this vampire world building work for you, Greg, as a vampire
So
fan?
for me, I really liked it because one, it is true that traditionally vampires could go out in the sun. The first vampire to die from the sun was in the film Nosferatu in like
Interesting.
1920, whatever. They just needed a way to end the film.
Okay.
And then also, just a little fun fact, silent films also gave us the countdown because they needed a visual, so they put the number on screen. Someone's like, let's do that when we launch a rocket. That's smart. So it's interesting how much silent film has affected aspects of our society that we didn't realize. But yeah, so classically, like in tradition, both in like vampire folklore and also prior media, vampires were either just asleep during the day or just not as powerful, but it didn't kill them or anything.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But we didn't see any like mirror stuff. We didn't talk at all about stakes or beheading.
Yep. The not caring about the sign of the cross was interesting. I think everybody kind of plays around with that. I think you would, in folklore, you would see like people like putting like some crucifixes and things in caskets, but that was more just because they really thought it was devil based. And so they're doing everything they could to more to keep the devil out than to put the vampire in, I think, if that makes sense. Like, don't you, devil, don't you turn my corpse into a vampire. Don't you turn my father into a vampire, kind of a thing.
I hate it when the devil does that.
Yeah, he's awful with that. So I thought that was pretty interesting to not be dealing with that. I also appreciated that they did this sympathetic vampire thing, but only for like a little bit, because I don't find the sympathetic vampire like, oh, I don't want to become a vampire. I don't want to kill. I don't find that interesting because I'd rather, again, I want to see a vampire be a vampire. I don't want to see a human be a human. I don't want to see a human not want to be a vampire. It's kind of boring to me. So I was glad that that was there, but then moved on from, and that largely everybody was just committed to this world as they were creating it. But I hadn't realized that they actually didn't show a mirror. They didn't do the mirror image thing with this one.
Well, that's also just filmically something a lot more complicated to do.
It's
tricks with mirrors.
It's true.
But I think the fact that the cross doesn't work is always a sign that you're in a more sort of nihilistic vampire movie. When the cross doesn't work and you don't have a faith in God to fall back on. I think that's always indicative of a film's larger worldview.
That makes sense to me.
So, where was I? What was I even saying? Let's see.
The one that I called Goatee had just appeared.
Oh yes, Jonathan.
Oh, poor Jonathan.
Oh yeah, things don't go well for poor Jonathan.
Yeah.
Now Jonathan, he attacks a lady that he just slept with. And then Angie stops by to tell him that she's looking for Rachel and thinks he might know where she is. He says that he thinks she's in the city. So then Jonathan heads to a secret passage in the 103rd Street subway station that leads to where Rachel has been hiding.
I love the way they shot that secret entrance, by the way.
It really worked. Yeah. They just cut around a corner and be like, oh yeah, he just walked. Yeah.
He just walked through the wall.
I loved it. Yeah.
Platform 5 3/4, whatever it was. The Harry Potter thing.
Yeah. 9 3/4.
Yeah.
Completely ripping off Addicted to Murder.
100%. I've been saying it for years.
Take him to court.
Let's do this.
Guess what? Guilty. That's what I would say. Now, he finds Rachel hiding in this secret lair, and she beats the shit out of him and leaves.
Yeah.
And Angie then finds him there. Angie just seems to pop up wherever she wants at any given time. She's great.
She seems very powerful.
She can teleport, I believe.
Okay.
Yep.
She says that he has a different assignment for him. Now he's going to be babysitting Trish, the fledgling vampire. So Jonathan goes to Trish's place only to find her going hog wild, draining the blood of another blind date.
Yeah.
He explains that he is going to show her the ropes and she's going to live with him for a little while. She's like, "Oh, I've never lived with a man before." He's like, "That's not what this is like.
Hmm. And
I
she's
don't like you."
and she's like blood drunk, which is great.
Yeah.
Real confident.
And so he takes her back to his shitty apartment. All the vampires live in shitty apartments, which I really like.
Mm.
And she sleeps on his couch for the next 3 days straight. We then cut to a talking head of an expert on vampires who explains that vampires aren't so much made as they are born. One thing is important. They must be inherently evil. So Trish was always shitty, so that's good to know.
Yeah.
We then get some footage of Joel talking to his dead mom in his car. And then back in the city, Angie and Karen are hanging out. Love to see them hanging out. These two are my favorites. They're drinking blood from wine glasses and they're torturing some dude. And they both agree that they like serial killers because they provide cover for vampires. Serial killers and vampires, natural symbiosis in nature.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, the hunter that Angie had sent after Rachel shows up at Jonathan's place, hoping to get some more information about Rachel's whereabouts. And then he whips out a pair of pliers and rips Jonathan's fangs out.
This was an interesting concept.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting those two characters to interact.
Also, just the concept of pulling the fangs out too, and he's just like, you know what happens to a vampire when they don't feed, and then pulls out the fangs. And it's just like, actually, in this world, I don't know what happens when a vampire doesn't feed, actually, but I'm curious.
And also, we saw them sipping blood from wine glasses, so I don't think they need fangs to feed.
Okay, touche.
Yeah. Doesn't that happen in Blade as well? Which is the same year? Don't they rip out one of the characters' fangs?
They might.
I feel like they
long
must.
since I've seen it.
Maybe like Donald Loge. Did something like that happen to Donald Loge?
I don't know.
He was so good in Blade.
I should watch that again.
Yeah.
Daywalker's in Blade too.
Yeah.
It's true.
Lots of
Specifically,
parallels.
Blade is the Daywalker.
Just one Daywalker. I don't mean to put that plural. That's just one.
Now, Trish goes to Jackie's place and tells her that she was always jealous of Jackie's confidence and social grace. So now she's going to take them from her and drinks her blood. So you can also transfer like social skills, abilities, knowledges through blood. Is that something you've run into, Greg?
Not that I have seen in the films that I have watched. I'm trying to think if there's anything like that in folklore, but no. Not really, no, I don't think.
No, it reminds me more of like the Wendigo in Ravenous and stealing the strength of the dead that you eat.
I could see that.
Well, Angie tells her that she's very proud of her for doing this. Obviously, Angie's looking at Trish thinking big success. Now, meanwhile, Joel's car is broken down by the side of the road. Or possibly before, as you say, these two things, the Joel timeline and the Angie timeline may not be happening concurrently. Or they might. It's very difficult to say. I mean, there were super titles on the screen that said like 1992 and where we were or whatever, but
it's difficult to keep track even then.
Yeah.
Because then sometimes I forgot that sometimes we're like, let's go back to like 1761 or whatever. You're like, okay, for a moment.
Yeah, there is one point, where they flash back to, what was it, France in the 1200s, and it's Angie just like running around in a cloak.
So cool.
Great flashback.
Mm-hmm.
That way, that's how you know Angie's old as shit. That's what that scene was to establish. Now, Joel's car is broken down. A friendly hick pulls up and offers him a lift to the nearest service station. But he just needs to make a quick stop on the way. And that quick stop, that's right, it's to do some vampire shit.
Yeah.
Joel finds out that the hick named Otis, and the hick tells him that Rachel sent him to kill Joel because Rachel will never make Joel a vampire because he is, quote, tainted blood.
Mm.
That's gotta hurt.
Yeah.
In response, Joel slits Otis's throat and then beats his face literally into a pulp.
It's one way to kill a vampire.
Yeah, I guess they are vulnerable to literally having their head liquefied.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Perhaps-
technically a type of decapitation.
Yeah. Yeah. Perhaps a reference, to the folklore decapitation, or just, destroying someone's head. One of the two.
It's true. Maybe that guy's not dead. Maybe he'll come back in 3
Who
and
could
then his
say?
face will be completely different now
Who could
because
say?
it's regenerated. Now I look like Joel McHale. So Joel drives across the George Washington Bridge into the city, and then we cut to 4 years later. Presumably within those 4 years, a lot of the plot of Addicted to Murder happens. Now, Joel runs into Angie on the street, and Angie says that she will make him a vampire. The end, as I recall.
Sure.
Yeah, that's it.
So I would say not a particularly satisfying narrative when looked at as a whole.
I could see how, if you're watching the three of them, or you're a big fan of the first one, how this could be a very exciting film.
You get to see all your favorite characters back again.
Exactly. You get to fill in some of the holes. You get some new information.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's speculation, but it seems like we're probably getting more understanding of how this vampire world is working. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's like watching episode 2, starting Star Wars with episode 2, and then trying to figure out what the rest of the story is based upon just that.
Fair enough. Well, final thoughts, 5-star rating. Who wants to go first on our watchability and weird ratings? Greg, why don't you kick us off?
Sure. So weirdness, I'm gonna go, I think, a 3. I think
Okay.
it's a little I would say nothing in it is too strange. But the fact that it's like acts 2 and 5 of a 7-part movie it's a little discombobulating. The way it is constructed is a little left of center.
Yeah.
It doesn't do anything, again, too wild, but I would say that if you're just a standard viewer and you're going to plunk this in context free, you're going to be like, this is kind of weird. This is a little strange. Watchability, I'm going to probably put it at a 3 as well, just because of the fact that it's again, it's chapters 2 and 5, or what, you know what I mean? Like, if you don't have some context of something else, you're going to kind of get lost a little bit. But I think it would be higher for me if I had seen the first one, because it's very enjoyable for what it is. I wish I had known more about the context of it so that I could have the experience of that, because it seemed like it's a pretty good time.
Well, how about you, Pete?
Well, I'd say on the weirdness scale, I think it's fairly low. I'd say put it maybe at a 2.
Okay.
It is inventing its own, well, not inventing its own rules. It's stating its own rules of the vampire myth, which are, contrary to the ones that I know from movies. And the first time I saw one of the vampires outside in the daytime, I thought, well, this is a very obvious continuity error, and the joke was on me because I didn't know the rules. And I think a lot of the watchability score for me, which I put pretty high, at like a 4, has to do with kind of like time capsule quality of the film. In addition to the story, which I do enjoy, but there are scenes in it that are very much of their time.
Yeah.
Aside from just the element that it's shot on a format that doesn't really exist anymore, it's so much of the character choices, so much of the setting, so much of the the incidentals, just them walking through Times Square, clearly without a permit, and just someone walking backwards with the camera. It's just it's wonderful, and it's such a unique moment before the turn of the millennium that it's cool to have that kind of document. I really enjoy it, for that reason and others as well. I just say as well that I one of the reasons I like it too is the characterization of the vampires, I think, is unique from something like a Near Dark, where they're all just miserable, and then something like an Anne Rice novel where they're all like grand and aristocratic. It isn't that; it's just kind of crummy.
Yeah.
And it's not that different from the lives of the non-vampires in the film as well. I kind of appreciated that. They all have the same apartments.
Yeah.
Could I just add one thing real fast? I forgot about this. Being a person who grew up in Michigan and then lived in New York, this movie was very strange to watch because it just felt like I was in my homes. Like it was like, yeah, I know that. Like, I mean, I didn't know like when they were in Michigan, I didn't know where they were, but to me, it just looked like any city, Michigan. Like it just looked like Michigan. And then of course, New York looked like New York. In the fact that they're shooting on VHS, it's like they can't gussy it up any. They just have a direct feed of what it was at the time. It was really kind of nice to see that.
Yeah, I think it does really speak to both its locations and its era. I think one way that it really speaks to the time is that this is probably one of the whitest movies I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, sure.
Like all these people are very white. And like very mid 90s. And like I would never in a million years think that you would find a vampire movie where your four main vampires are named Angie, Rachel, Karen, and Trish.
Yeah.
It's such a odd thing to do. So where I landed, I also gave it the double threes like Greg did. I took it down for watchability a little bit just because it is very hard to follow actively. And if you're not a person that can engage with movies in a vibes-based way, you're going to have a very rough time with this. But I did find it to be very creative. I did like this sort of working class vampire. It reminded me a lot of another very 90s thing, Vampire the Masquerade, the role-playing game.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It had a lot of those vibes in there. I like that it didn't get too bogged down in lore and that it kept moving. But the sound quality and just the script, both making it so hard to actively pay attention to, took it down for me. The weird for me, I thought it is, I'm going to say, the cheapest movie that we've ever discussed. I think this almost definitely has a lower budget than the $7,000 that was spent on Twisted Pair. I could not find an exact budget, but I'm sure that it is very low.
It seems like it would have to be, which is impressive that they shot in 2 different states.
Yeah.
Although I'm sure it's because he lived in both of them.
He had couches he could crash on in both ends. And also, like, it was also very weird to have a movie where at any given moment you could track what was happening in front of you, but I could not place it within a larger context of a story at all.
It's an interesting exercise in viewing a film.
It was like if I had made a movie by taking just like 9 different scenes from 9 different episodes of a sitcom and just threw them all together. I was like, yep. And then it's over. But other than that, I would say it was not like super off-putting or outre or anything.
Yeah.
It was just mildly discombobulating. Well, with that, do you guys want to get in the final portion of the show?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Good, because that's what's happening. And I think one thing that we all agreed on, that there was a lot to like in this movie, but maybe it could be improved. And we're going to talk about our ideas for improving it in Fixing Time. fucking movie. I just don't know what to do. We've got to fix it. Me and you. It's fucking garbage. Every single line, we've got to fix it. 'Cause it's fixing time. All right, it's fixing time, you guys. God damn it.
Do it again. Do it again.
No. The moment has passed. Listen, let's say it's 1997, and we are executives at a great Hollywood studio, and we just saw Addicted to Murder, and we thought, sequel.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he's got a script already. Great. The script is locked. We can make some tweaks, but this is pretty much what we're going with. At least in terms of characters. How are we fixing this? I've got a proposal for a cast if you guys want to hear my leveled up cast.
I'd like to hear your leveled up cast. I've been
Please.
scratching some things down.
All right, so for Joel.
Yeah.
This one seems obvious to me. It's got to be Vincent D'Onofrio.
Ooh, that's a good choice.
What do you guys think? You got any alternate Joels?
So I gotta say, I first wrote. So I forgot that we were doing this, and so I've been thinking about this the entire time. So some of my first choices were physically based. So Danny
Okay.
McBride was my first choice, and I was like, that
Yeah.
makes sense, but that's not. That doesn't feel right, and I don't know where he was at that time period. So now what I'm saying is Vince Vaughn.
Okay. Yeah, he can do creepy.
Yeah, and I was thinking of like his part later in the second season of True Detective. Like if he could bring some of that to this, I think it could work.
I could see that. Or even some of his take on Norman Bates.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Pete? You got any Joels? Or do you want to play the deciding executive? Do you want to get the final decision for who's going to fill these roles?
I mean, I have one for Joel, and then maybe I can bounce back and forth between roles. But
Okay.
I think in 97 version, Ken Marino might be nice.
Okay.
Ooh, yeah.
He's New York guy, so that helps.
New York guys, he doesn't have to travel for the shoot, and
He would have been in the state at that point, or would the state have just been finishing up around then?
I mean, I'm in favor of an entire the state recast for this film, like across the board.
Yeah.
But
No,
I would
that'd be
settle
great.
for
That would
if
be
we could
great,
only
yeah.
get Marino, then it's a go picture.
I mean, I think Carrie Kenny could obviously play a great Trish. Now that you mention
Incredible, right? Just the best.
Well, my pitch for Trish,
Yeah.
Jennifer Love Hewitt.
Okay. I feel like she's not going to get the kind of darkness that I want out of Trish. I said Brittany Murphy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also very New Yorky.
Yeah.
I think Love Hewitt could get there. I don't think she was ever asked to get there, but I think she
Okay.
could. I think she's
I
got
like-
that in her.
I like that you think that.
Pete, you got a Trish?
No, I think that's perfect. 97 was like Can't Hardly Wait, maybe?
Yeah, or at the very least, yeah, that might have been like 99, but I think I know what
Okay.
you did last summer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I think that's
I
perfect.
forgot she was in that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, what are you waiting for? That kind of Jennifer Love Hewitt in there.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Angie, I've got Catherine Zeta-Jones.
So I said Salma Hayek, and I feel like we're both doing the same thing.
We're dancing around each other.
Yeah. I could go either one, honestly.
The argument that I'm going to make for CZJ
Mhm.
is that Salma Hayek does vampires in From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah.
She's already got her vampire.
And I
picture.
think that's also, I'm kind of right there with you because I think that's why I picked her. And now that I'm thinking about it, I kind of want to see Catherine Zeta-Jones more than I do Salma Hayek.
Yeah. she's got that more of like a flirty nature. I don't think
Mhm,
of Selma Hayek as being flirty. I think Catherine Zeta-Jones can do flirty.
Yeah, but I could see her. I think Salma Hayek is has like a commanding presence, which I feel like Trish or yeah, Angie. Yes, so that Angie. I think that she kind of had that kind of commanding presence.
All right, Pete, you on board for CZJ as Angie?
I mean, I think that's good. I think if we're going, if we're casting some comedy people, I think maybe a 97 era Janine Garofalo could be wonderful in that too.
Yeah.
Or also keeping the New York cast local as well.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But
another
any
interesting
era,
headshot up on the board.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any period of any of these people's lives would be perfect in this film, in my opinion.
All right. So for Rachel, very mysterious, very beautiful. I went for Liv Tyler.
So Rachel is one I didn't even think about casting because she seems, while she has a significant role within the context of the film, her part within the film was relatively small.
Yes,
and
not
so
a lot of
it's
screen
difficult
time
for me to think of someone off the top of my head as to who that would be because I'm having trouble even kind of remembering her character. But maybe Farazula Balk.
Faruza Balk?
Yeah.
She's got a very striking screen presence.
Yeah. And I feel like she could play that kind of like twisted love interest to a serial killer, but kind of maternal aspect of the evil society kind of a thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, in that direction, you could even go for Patricia Arquette.
Yeah.
How about you, Pete? Any Rachel thoughts?
No, Rachel is like the most vibes character in the film in that she has pretty much no lines and hardly any screen time, but is so pivotal.
Yeah. So you can cast Jace just for a face, which is the nice thing about Rachel.
Yeah, you can. I kind of leave it to y'all on that one.
Okay.
All right. Karen. I got a slam dunk for Karen here.
Who you got?
Natasha Lyonne.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Karen is the one that the person showed up at the apartment of, correct?
Yes.
So I said Alyssa Milano, but that's more because I just wanted to get her in there. She's got like kind of a vampire pedigree. I knew her from a vampire film called Embrace of the Vampire. As I would be where she was like kind of the timid one becoming the vampire. I think it would be fun to see her be this like, we got to stop this shit kind of a vampire. I think it would be a fun turn for her.
Okay. What about you, Pete?
Which this is an embarrassing question. Which character is this?
Karen is the one that calls up Angie and is like, Angie, we got a problem with guys showing up at my house.
Oh yeah. Okay. Back on board. Thank you. Maybe like BB Newworth.
Ooh. I'd love to see BB Newworth as a vampire, especially 1997 BB Newworth.
Yeah,
that'd be rad. That'd be super cool.
Yeah, she could bring a totally different energy to it.
Yeah.
Okay, Jonathan. I'm gonna go for James Duvall. You might know from Greg Araki's Nowhere. He was also in Independence Day.
James Duvall.
Duvall.
I'm going to take a look at a picture here, listeners. That's what this pause is.
He's also in May. Listeners, if you need to take out your phone and Google James Duvall.
Okay, yeah, I could see where you're coming from with that one. I said James Spader, which is a bit different casting, but that was where my head went. Yeah. But I feel like he had a bit of an older vibe to him. Like he had that kind of curmudgeon-y kind of.
He was a bit cranky, yeah.
Yeah, so that's why I think I went a little older. My first guess was Antonio Banderas, which I think would also function in a way.
Mm-hmm. I feel like Antonio Banderas would almost be too big because you want someone that can get pushed around by Angie.
That's fair. That's fair. And so that's why I think later I was just like, yeah, you're just basing that on like the ponytail, I think. Because again, I've been
you're going by looks again.
Yeah. I went looks first, and now after I was like, no, actually vibes wise, I think James Spader could pull that off. This kind of like my shit's over here, your shit's over there. I'm going to help you. I don't like this. I got shit I got to do.
Yeah. You got any Jonathans, Pete?
Yeah, I'd say. I mean, if we're keeping things in a '97 era casting, I'd say fresh off his star turn from singles, you might get like a Chris Cornell in there.
Ooh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, a little stunt casting.
Yeah, really mix it up, and maybe he can get on the soundtrack as well.
Yeah.
Yes, perfect. That's brand
That'd be
synergy.
a great get. That'd be a great get.
Not that the soundtrack needs a note of change. We'll get to that.
No, I did put the score was done by Alucarda. I have a snippet of some of the Alucarda score that will be closing out the episode. Listeners, stick around for that. All right, okay, we're almost through. The Hunter. I went for Delroy Lindo. I'd love to see Delroy Lindo play a badass vampire that hunts other vampires.
Yeah. This is one I hadn't cast, but yeah, that makes good sense to me.
Yeah, 3 for 3 on that one.
All right, we're locking Delroy.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, Jackie. For Jackie, I went for Laura Keitlinger, the stand-up comedian. Listeners might know her from Shallow Hal, where she played one of Hal's co-workers because she was dating Jack Black at the time. But she looked a lot like this lady back at this time.
I said Courtney Cox, but I think I could also go Parker Posey, though she's probably a little too big for this one, but I think she would fit well for the role.
In 97, she would, because that would have been around when she was doing Party Girls. She would have been perfect. All right, and last but not least, Otis. You got to go with Tim Blake Nelson.
Who was Otis?
Who's Otis?
Otis was the hick vampire wearing the cap.
Oh,
incredible.
Okay.
Incredible character turn on Otis.
Yeah. He's the one who ends up getting his throat slit, right?
Yeah, and his face bashed in.
Yeah. Yeah, who would I put for Otis?
I mean, you can really goof it up.
I mean, if you could get John Malkovich, I would love that.
Ooh. I mean, with the budget we've got, we can get anybody. So Malkovich is in.
Yeah.
Maybe Don Knotts. You'd never expect him to turn out to be a vampire.
Well, you just got to stop off at this house because I'm a vampire.
Do you have any blood? You don't want to give your blood to me?
I think like a very, very friendly 97 era Werner Herzog would be great there too.
Oh,
yes.
Just like being super charming, but there's a menace in the background.
Yeah, because he could turn like that.
Yeah. Steve Buscemi was another thought that came to me. I feel like he's an interesting person to be like, I'm going to pick you up as a hitchhiker, but it turns out I'm a vampire and I'm going to kill you.
Yeah, he would have been a go-to guy for that in 97.
Yeah.
You could have gotten a couple more people in the theater if they knew that you were going to have Steve Buscemi as a hick vampire in your movie.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've got a great cast here.
No, I really enjoyed that. That was nice.
Well, do you guys want to play a little game?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to play a little This Guy Played That Guy. This guy played that guy. Yeah, this guy played that guy. This guy played that guy in a film. That's right, we're playing This Guy Played That Guy. We're going to be doing it with the films of Sasha Graham, the charming young actress that played Angie. So I have got 9 questions here. I will give you the title of the film, the year it came out, a brief description, and 3 names. You will tell me which one is the name of the character played by Sasha Graham. This is a buzz-in game, and you'll buzz in by saying your own name. Please wait until I've finished reading the entire question. Do you guys have any questions for me?
No.
All right. Then let's get it going. Question number 1, hands-on buzzers.
Okay.
Gargoyle Girls. That's tough to say. Gargoyle Girls. Try saying that at home. Can you guys try saying that really quick?
Gargoyle Girls.
Gargoyle girl. That's tricky.
Gargoyle Girls, Gargoyle Girls, Gargoyle Girl. Yeah, the third time
Yeah.
it got very difficult.
Gargoyle Girls, 1998. The story of two 12th century female gargoyles released in the 20th century.
Classic.
Did Sasha Graham play Lois, Gwendolyn, or Diana?
Greg.
Greg?
Gwendolyn.
That's correct. Greg is on the board.
Well done.
Question number 2. Gut Pile. Also 1998.
Okay.
A year after a tragic fatal hunting accident, Dan returns to the woods, only to be hunted by the man he accidentally shot. Did Sasha Graham play deputy, sheriff, or unnamed woman?
Greg?
Greg,
Deputy?
you're 2 for 2, Greg. Pete, you better watch out. He's going to run away with it.
This is wonderful.
Question number 3, Crimson Knights, 2000. A plague of vampirism is sweeping New York City. What? Susan bites her boyfriend Bert, who bites Jasmine, who bites Kate, and so on.
Yeah.
Did Sasha Graham play Cynthia, Jasmine, or Kate?
Pete.
Pete?
I'm gonna go with Kate.
No, I'm sorry, that's not correct. Greg, can you steal?
Jasmine.
I'm sorry, Sasha Graham played Cynthia.
Okay.
Question number 4. The Enchanted Kitchen, 2018.
Oh, good.
A tarot diva implements her special brand of magic and her serious cooking chops to teach viewers how to cook with intention. On each episode, she draws a card from the tarot to inspire a special dish. Did Sasha Graham play Lenore, Gigi, or herself?
Greg.
Greg?
Herself.
That's correct. This was a cooking show she made where she plays tarot on it.
I'm going to have to track that down.
Yeah.
That sounds good. I'm in.
Today's rabbit dish is being inspired by the Chariot.
3 of cups, eh?
Mm-hmm.
That means we're going to need 3 cups of flour. We're baking a cake.
It's a big cake.
It is. Question number 5. Bloodletting, 1997. A young woman fascinated with mass murderers tracks down the world's most famous uncaught serial killer and becomes his apprentice. Did Sasha Graham play Bobby Joe, Serena, or Patty?
Greg?
Greg.
Serena.
I'm sorry, Pete, can you steal?
I'm going to go with Patty.
That is correct. Pete's on the board.
Yep.
Let's go.
All right, question number 6. Alien Agenda, Out of the Darkness, 1996. Also directed by Kevin J. Lindenmuth, at least in part.
That's our guy.
A lone survivor in a not-too-distant future uses a time machine to look back in time to see how his world came to be the way it is in this sci-fi anthology. Did Sasha Graham play daughter, Becky, or Linda?
Greg.
Greg?
Daughter. Yep.
No, I'm sorry.
Pete.
Pete?
Becky.
That's correct. Pete's on the comeback trail.
Let's go. All right.
Somebody's opened up his IMDb page. I can see it.
I don't know if these are on there.
That's where I found him. Question number
really?
7. Scream Walkers 2024.
Yeah.
That's great.
CJ Wyatt is in the center of the strange killings in her hometown. CJ learns that each of her friends' murders gets the killer. Hang on. What the fuck? Oh, okay. CJ learns that each of her friends' murders sets the killer one step closer to her discovering the terrifying truth of the mysterious Scream Walkers. That was not a fucking sentence. I apologize, fellas.
It's okay.
Did Sasha Graham play Faith Buchanan, CJ Wyatt, or Mrs. Penny?
Greg. CJ Wyatt. I'm a little apprehensive about it.
You should have been more apprehensive.
Yep,
Pete.
should have.
I'm going to go Faith. Was it Buchanan? Faith Buchanan.
It was Faith Buchanan. It's all tied up. We got ourselves a game, fellas.
No, here it is.
Yeah.
Here it is.
Okay.
Question number 8. One take, 1998. A young man receives a mysterious card from his dead ex-girlfriend, which leads him to discoveries that forever change his take on love, life, and sacrifice. Did Sasha Graham play Donna, Darlene, or Dawn?
Greg. Darlene.
Sorry, Pete, can you steal?
Dawn?
Oh my God, Pete has been crushing it with these steals.
Oh no, here it is.
Oh boy. All right.
It all comes down to this. Let's see if Greg can tie it up. Question number 9. Okay. Polymorph, 1996. An alien ship crash lands on Earth, and the creature inside starts taking over people's bodies. Did Sasha Graham play Tarper, Donna, or Regine?
Could you, what was, yeah.
Tarper, Donna, or Regine? Pete?
Pete, I'm going to go with the first one. Tarper?
Tarper? That's correct,
No.
Pete.
Yep.
Coming from behind with a dominant second half.
Way to go, Pete.
Wow.
I really thought I was so confident after my first half. I kind of just was like, I'm just gonna go with my guts and ride it out. They started failing.
He rope-a-doped you.
He did. Also, she was a bit of a scream queen, I feel like.
Yeah. She did a lot of horror in the tri-state area. She worked a lot with the company that like Misty Monday worked with. I think Seduction Cinema.
Okay.
The makers of Lord of the G-Strings.
Oh, yeah.
We haven't covered any of those. We probably won't because no one likes those.
I don't. But it's one of those things that I know of. I just don't know what it is.
Well, they were Seduction Cinema was a company that was based out of Northern Jersey, and they made like goofy softcore porn parodies.
Okay.
None of them were great. Their big breakout star was a gal named Misty Monday who appeared in most of their films. And they also they didn't only do parodies, but they did things like Spider Babe, Lord of the G-Strings.
Yeah.
You know, they did something about some sort of Dark Knight parody, possibly called like the Dark Wench. I don't know. Shit like that.
That makes sense.
I'm pretty sure the gal they had playing the Joker had tattoos of flames coming out of her nipples. That's something that I have bouncing around the back of my brain.
Okay.
And I wish I didn't.
Yeah.
It's time for the Baddie Awards. Now you're messing with 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 the Baddie Awards. Congratulations to all the nominees. That's right. Congratulations to all our nominees. Congratulations to you listeners. You made it to the Baddie Awards. I'll kick us off. I'm going to give out my Batty Award to favorite piece of environmental storytelling.
Ooh.
And that's going to go to the Eraserhead poster that was hanging in Karen's kitchen.
Oh, nice.
It was very funny to be like, think of like a vampire being like, it's a good movie, Eraserhead. I think that says so much about the type of vampires that this movie is about.
Yeah.
Greg, do you have a Batty Award?
I do. This week's Batty Award is actually going to go to two contestants.
Okay.
And this is the Scene Stealer Award, and I am going to give that to I got to look at the guy's name, Jonas Collins. I'm going to give that to his eyeglass chain and mustache. Because there is one point at which he does something with his eyeglasses. He's got an eyeglass chain, and for viewers at home, listeners at home, he has what is like a handlebar mustache. It doesn't curl around so much; it kind of curls up in the eyeglass.
Yeah, just almost
chain.
Straight out.
Yeah, and then the eyeglass chain gets caught on it, and it's just dangling off of his mustache while he's talking. And the honest truth is that I couldn't understand a word of what he said, because I was just staring at that eyeglasses chain dangling off that mustache and just like, he doesn't even realize it because there's no nerves in hair. And so I was just having a ball with that at the time. And I was just like, I love these bits with the expert, but I'm just looking at this chain and that beautiful mustache and just having a ball.
Oh,
yeah,
I wish I had noticed that. Yeah,
Congrats,
a wonderful detail. Pete, do you have a Batty Award?
I do. I had trouble selecting what would win the award.
Naturally.
So maybe if I can tier it in non-hierarchical places of all of these are winners.
Absolutely.
In any order. The first is kind of just the background, or the characters who play smaller parts in the film. Like the guy who comes into the apartment initially to be changed. His intensity is striking, and he's it's pretty frightening dude. Similarly, Otis at the end, the person who's sent to kill Joel, the way he's so relaxed and confident in his nihilism is pretty horrifying. And also, I like the way in which he kind of just dismisses Joel's wondering if Rachel is in the room. He's like, I don't see her anywhere, while he's standing over a corpse.
Yeah,
it's pretty wild. In what might be second or third or first place is the lighting. The lighting,
a lot of fun lighting in this.
Is truly inventive and of its time, but also they're just having fun with it, and it becomes like its own little character when in multiple viewings to see how they lit a particular room in an inventive way, what shadows they put up, what red or green gels they threw in front of them. It's pretty awesome. And then finally, we mentioned it earlier, but Alucarda, who does the score, it's just incredible from start to finish. It's so great. And from the first tune all the way through the end, although I think on the credits it might be a different
I think they had a band coming into the closing credits song.
But all the kind of dark music that runs throughout is really, really wonderful, and it just fits the mood for the film, I think, pretty well. Undersung band that Alucarda. I wish I knew more about them, but they're wonderful.
Yeah, Alucarda, if you're listening, get in touch. Listeners, if you want to get in touch, you could shoot us an email. You could follow us on any of the social media. You can find all that stuff in the link tree that's in the show description. But before I start plugging too hard, Pete, do you have anything that you want to plug? Thank you so much for being here this week, first of all.
Oh my God, this is a dream come true. Thank you all. This is just the best.
Yeah.
Now, great to see you. Great to catch up with you. Great to watch this movie. Do you have anything you want to plug?
I would say check out, if you can, if it's in your area or it's online near you, Scooter McRae, who has an excellent cameo in this, the one who's holding the bag with the baby in it in the apartment scene.
Mm-hmm.
He has a new film out. I haven't checked it out, but maybe we could all watch it at the same time together. It's called Black Eyed Susan. Came out last year. Horror movie.
Okay.
I'm sure it's pretty cool. I don't have much to plug on my own, but I'm happy to pay forward the wonderful joy of the cast of Addicted to Murder Part 2:
Yeah, and
Tainted
you'll notice
Blood.
Scooter McRae was the only one that we did not recast in Fixing Time. Scooter McRae, he stays in the picture.
The boy,
Scooter's
the kid
incredible,
stays in the
yeah.
picture.
Just
Yeah.
powerful presence and just steals every scene of every movie he's in.
Yeah, perfect for the role. And listeners, you are perfect for the role of giving us 5 stars. 5 stars is free, brother. That's what I always say. This is the currency of our society, which is funny because it's free to give, like a smile or a hug or a how are you doing today? Give us that 5 stars. Boy, we'd appreciate it. If not you, who? And also, have you told your best friend about the show yet? Have you told maybe someone from high school that you haven't spoken to in a long time? Have you told your favorite person to watch bad movies with? Tell them to check it out. We'd certainly appreciate it. And we'd certainly appreciate it if you came back next week when we're going to be talking about Paranormal Activity 4 with Brooke Pridemore. You don't want to miss that. Yeah, we'll see you then. Until next time, be good. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
You're watching